Hi everyone, I'm back to the swing, made some coffee again, and it's time for a book review of Fun with Your New Head by Thomas M. Disch. A short story collection that I had never heard of before and picked up purely because I rarely find Disch and this cover rocks. So I don't know if you can see it super well from there, but look up the cover, go find a copy of this if you can. It's a cool book to own. Mine's not in the best shape. Dust jacket's kind of torn up, and it's kind of, I'd call it crispy. It feels like it's dry, and so I don't know. It's not a nice edition, not nice pristine edition, but it's been well read or not taken care of. Take your poison. So today we're going to talk about some of these short stories. The last couple of short story collections I reviewed, Kornbluth and Gibson, I kind of went story by story. There weren't as many in those collections as this one. This has probably close to 15, probably 15 or 16. So I won't go in depth on each one. That will take too long. So I'll kind of briefly discuss each one, like in a couple of sentences, and then go through a couple of standouts that I thought were the best ones. So let's see if I can put my coffee down without spilling it. Um, First, we actually, you know what? I don't know if this is going to work that well, but here's the cover. I hope that's in frame. It should be. And then here is the list of stories. I hope that that focused all right. Um, like I've said before, I shoot on my phone, so I can't see what you're seeing right now, other than the way I originally set it up, framing it. So, oh well. The first short story is called "The Roaches." Very gross, very I don't know, uncomfortable to read. I felt like slimy, like literal roaches crawling everywhere in this story. It's exactly what it sounds like, but it is a really good story. If you're not sure if you like Dish or if you want to read him, and you like happen across this, you're not sold on buying it, just read the first story. If it's off-putting to you, you don't want to read more, uh, don't read more Dish, because this is a good introduction to his kind of style, his kind of dark edginess. His The word that keeps coming to mind is like, it feels troubled. I don't know if that makes sense, but it feels like something is troubled in the prose because it is exploring a lot of psychological things in this book, as the title would suggest. Fun with your new head. A lot of mental exploration going on. Roaches was good. It was a good short story to start with. Next one, Come to Venus, Melancholy. Another good one. Interesting point of view. We we read from the point of view of a computer, like a female computer who is off world with her husband, and they're in like a mining colony, kind of, or not mining. They farm like worms or something, and it's lonely, and it's odd. It's got a cool tone to it, but the point of view is what I liked most about it. Is when you read from the point of view of an inanimate object or a computer or something along those lines, it always intrigues me. Another good story. Linda and Daniel and Spike is the next story. Yes, that's the whole title. Linda and Daniel and Spike. Um, this one was really tough, like not enjoyable to read, but really interesting. It's from the point of view of a woman who is sick and who has kind of delusions of what the sickness really is. Schizophrenic behaviors, um, not in reality, that kind of thing. And it was a really fascinating story, but just sad. Like, that's what I mean by troubled, I guess, when I use that word for the first story. Like, some of these stories do feel like Dish is really exploring a darkness inside of him that is, he's able to somehow bring it out in some of these stories, but some of them are uncomfortable to read, and it's Disch is not for the the summer reader, like the beach reader, I should say, not summer reader. Disch is not for the beach reader. That's going to be the title of this video. Another good story. Then we have a really short one called Flight, Useless, Inexorable, The Pursuit. I really don't remember this one. It's so short, but it was, I mean, Disch is well written, but nothing that stood out with that one. Next one is called Descending. This is the first standout of the collection. Descending, I would say, is like if the back rooms, you're familiar with the back rooms concept of the liminal spaces that people run around in, and they're in the endless office building staircase kind of thing. If that was written in the 1960s, super ahead of its time, because it's got this real eerie feeling. Essentially, we follow a man on an endless staircase, and he tries to go up, but as the title would suggest, he goes down. And we watch a descent physically and mentally into madness, and it's fascinating. Really interesting story. I would highly recommend seeking that one out. Descending is the first standout of this one. Next one we have is called Nada, N-A-D-A. This one really gave a weird vibe because it is a teacher of a foreign student who she believes is an alien, and not alien like from another foreign country, but alien as in she has like psychic powers and whatnot. And so the teacher kind of takes it upon herself to follow the student and almost stalk the student, and like it takes a weird turn, not in like a creepy way, but in just a again, uncomfortable keeps coming to mind. Like I was finishing this story being like, this teacher is overstepping the line. But again, another good story that was interesting. I thought that the setup didn't quite deliver with the payoff. So then we have Now Is Forever. What was that one about? That was, is that the man in the yeah. So this man who goes back to a bank that he used to run after years of being away from it, and it's been kind of overrun by a bunch of like degenerate kids who are like just destroying the place, and kids meaning teenagers, and they're like anarchist teenagers. And so he goes into this office building and like talks with the old janitor that used to work there, and the old janitor kind of doesn't get treated very nicely by this like big banker boss. And it's an interesting premise, but the real like interesting meat of that story was that there's a machine called a reprostat that can essentially replicate anything, can create anything. So the ending is interesting because it poses the question like, is a world where you can just replicate everything and anything worth living in, when you can even replicate like money, people, pets, things like that. It's interesting question in that one. Cool story. The Contest, I remember being a very short one with a fun ending. Nothing more I want to say about that one, because otherwise, how do you talk about a 2-page short story without just ruining it? Two men have a conversation, and it ends with a bang. There you go. The Empty Room was next. That one came right before one of actually my favorite story in the collection. I don't really remember this one. Very short. Oh, a man and a wife like are in an empty apartment that they're looking at, and they have a conversation. It's kind of all I remember about it. It was one of the less memorable short stories of the collection. Next we have, oh, my dog's going to start barking. Oh no. And things were going so well. Oh, maybe he isn't going to start barking. There's people walking up the path, and I was afraid he was just going to ruin the video. Next, we have my favorite, like I said, the Squirrel Cage, which is a story about an unnamed person in a padded room who kind of narrate. It's talking to the reader through the typewriter that they're typing on, because that's what they do all day. They don't know how they got there. They don't know like who they are, what they're doing, where they are, and they get the New York Times delivered to them every morning. They read it and they type on their typewriter to us, the reader. And Disch does something that I love at the end that just punctuates it as a really interesting, very bizarre story with just a super cool style to it. I love when writers take chances with the form and with the point of view. I think that's something Disch does spectacularly in this short story collection, because I'll talk about it now, but uh, the through line of all of these, as you can imagine with the title, I've kind of already alluded to this. Disch is playing with mental illness, mental capacity, psychological awareness, reality, perception, those kinds of things throughout the whole book. And I think he does it better in this story, the Squirrel Cage, than any other story in the book. So I don't know. I would find that one and read it. Really good. Next one, The Number You Have Reached, another standout, along with the Squirrel Cage. Excuse me, the Squirrel Cage and Descending. It is a man who's lost his wife, trying to cope, and sort of feels like he's going insane when a woman calls him, and kind of starts to um, invite herself over, and he believes it's his mental faculties breaking down, and it's a figment of his imagination in a coping mechanism after losing his wife. Really sad and really uncertain. It gave a very PKD vibe to it, where you just don't know what's real. So yeah, The Number You Have Reached, really, really good. 1A, 1-A was a kind of uh, like a army basic training story. Gave me shades of like the very first 30 minutes of Full Metal Jacket, where they're training and they're getting chewed out by the sergeant, that kind of thing. It was fine, nothing special. Fun with Your New Head, the title story, was really good. Very short. It was like 3 pages, and it was essentially like an ad for buying heads, and that's all I want to say about it, because like it's more of an experience short story, where you need to read it to understand what I like. That's the point. How to enjoy it is by actually like reading it. Telling you about it just kind of takes the magic away from that one, because it's literally like reading ad copy. Um, so that one's really good, and I laughed during it. It was a funny one, which doesn't happen all that often. I feel like good comedic science fiction is very rare. It usually comes across as cheesy, but if the writers can explore it enough and make it kind of not quite on the nose, it really works for me. City of Penetrating Light was next. I really don't remember that one either. So nothing special with that one, I don't think. Character named Nina. I don't remember this one at all, and I just finished this story. Yeah, The City of Penetrating Light was not a standout at all. Not to say it was bad, but pretty forgettable if I remember. If I don't remember, I guess should be the way I phrase that. We're getting to the end, so if you're sticking with me throughout this whole thing, thank you. Next, we have Moondust, The Smell of Hay, and Dialectic Materialism. Yes, that is the title. This one, I'm going to have to refresh really quick again. And it's literally in the top right where the story titles are. It just says Moondust, because it was such a long title that it couldn't fit. Oh yeah, Mikhail. Um, he. Oh, this was really interesting. I didn't realize this, and I'm realizing it right now. This story is backed up against the next story, which both kind of have themes of George Orwell's 1984 sprinkled throughout. This one not as much directly, but the next one is literally a thesis on on some of those themes. Um, it is a astronaut who is the first astronaut on Mars, and he sort of faces his mortality with grace, but considers why he is dying because his at the very beginning it lets you know he is aware that his like life supply, his oxygen, his food, whatever, is running out. He's going to die, and he considers that and considers what his value to the world was when he was alive. Really interesting. Another kind of mentally troubling story because you're watching somebody really wrestle with their mortality at the end of their life. So it's a unique perspective. And then, like I said, the next one is called Thesis on Social Forms and Controls. Sorry, Thesis on Social Forms and Social Controls in the USA. This one was interesting because the format of it wasn't quite. Sorry, the plane's going overhead, and I feel like it's loud. I'll just wait. I'm looking at my dog, and he's just kind of looking at me like, "What is that plane doing?" All right, it's gone enough now. Like I was saying, this is a literal essay, or at least dressed up to be a literal essay. I couldn't quite put my finger on if Disch was um, actually writing a thesis on some of the themes in 1984. The three big statements in that, which are like I think if I remember right, war is peace, love is hate, and freedom is control, or something along those lines. Control is freedom. He unpacks those and kind of elaborates on them, extrapolates them to how they apply to his current time at the time of writing in the USA, what it kind of looked like then. And then finally, we have Casablanca, which was probably the most realistic short story of this whole collection. It centers around a man and a woman who are on the older side, and they are traveling abroad in Casablanca when a nuclear bomb from the United States goes off, or maybe in the United States is a better way to say it. And there's some social unrest after this happens, where we get the people of this Casablancan society culture start to really hate Americans for the nuclear bomb situation that's going on. And the man and the woman, essentially everything falls into chaos for Americans there, and they can't reasonably get home. They lose their money, they lose their hotel that they're staying in, and it just devolves into uh, just chaos. And it's like I said, it's the most realistic story because I really do think that uh, some of the situations that they find themselves in, mainly the husband as he tries to figure out a way to get them home, is true to the times for certain people. Also, I don't know if the sun just hit the lens, so I'm going to finish this up now because I don't want the last bit of this video to be the sun just hitting you guys right in the eye. um, Casablanca was a really good way to end it. It kind of, I thought it was going to end with more of a bang and less of a kind of mysterious fizzle, where you're just not sure what the outcome is in their situation. But it poses some interesting questions, and much like the whole short story collection, it explores kind of like fear and psychology and what goes on inside of your head. Um, the more that I think about these short stories, the more that I do think Disch was doing something here. During the reading, I wasn't blown away. It wasn't truly jaw dropping science fiction, but it definitely made me want to read more Disch because he has a really sharp style about him and a awareness that I find really interesting. Excuse me, I keep clearing my throat. I apologize. Uh, but also I think that his understanding of the human psyche and or at least the exploration of it in this book is really fascinating and really well done. So I don't know how long this video is. I hope it's not been dragging too long for you. Uh, it's always like the trouble with these short story collection reviews is I really want to keep them succinct. But anyway, that's been Fun with Your New Head by Thomas M. Disch. I think if I had to give it a grade, uh, 7 out of 10 seems fair to this because it, like I said, it wasn't jaw dropping. I got to drop everything and read the and review this like I did with Burning Chrome. That was stunning. Um, that's the best short story collection I think I probably ever will read. And it, I don't mean that to like fuel that one and take away from this one. This one's great, but I think it, like a lot of good writers, short story collections, you could put this alongside those, and it's worth your time to read. Um, so with that, I have nothing more to say, and I'm going to work on how to end videos better. So I will thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. I appreciate you.